G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. Today got to do this lovely little Atlantic cedar that belongs to a customer of mine. He's asked me to have a look at it, work on it, get it looking good. It's actually a pretty nice little specimen here. What you haven't seen is the work I've done on it just before. He's cleaning up a lot of the dead branches. Unfortunately this tree has had a lot of dieback, a lot of dead little bits here and there. And it's kind of had now we can see a bit of areas that are exposed, which isn't too bad. Looks okay, but now it's getting to a point where I think it's a little bit it's quite tall and slender, and I'd just like it to bring it back to make it a bit more mature tree. It's a little bit young looking now again. So some of the techniques I want to employ to make this tree a little bit older. I'll give it a little spin, hopefully the wind behaves again, but we'll see. It's not too bad. I think there's an obvious front in this tree. I don't want to really move the front too much. I just got to change something about it. The front's in here pretty much, I think. I think you guys are looking at it somewhere in here with the gins. You can see them either side. Let me just double check. You've got a nice branch, fat old branch here, another branch here, and a back branch. This all encompasses the first branch. Then there's a bit of a blank part here. There's a branch that died off, and then there's the apex really. So first things first, pretty easy to wire all these lower branches. Then what are we going to do with this area here that's a bit sparse and here there's not much branching at all, not much branching out of the back here. I only have this one branch here, but I can't really do a huge amount with it. I can try and bend it and put into block the areas and things like that, which I will do, but it's all about this apex. Now what I'd really like to do is got a really nice healthy apex, but I want to if I bring this tree all the way down, I will shorten it. But if I bring it all the way down, like I want to bend this guy wire it down, make it a shorter tree, have a nice full head. But if I do that, watch what happens to the tree. If I do this to where I want it to go, you can see it's almost falling over. But a very easy fix, especially for new people, very easy fix, is when I repot this tree for the client, for the customer, then change the planting angle. Still the same front, sorry about this wind, still the same front, but I've tilted the tree back. Now watch this, see how it's tilted back now? It's gone backwards. So if we have a new pot and it's like that, the tree's tilted backwards, probably even a little bit more. Right, and then when I bring this forward, it should actually just come forward of the whole, just come forward in the pot a little bit. So bring this forward, it'll sit nicely. So that's probably the lesson I really want you to see in how I change. I didn't change where the front is, I just changed the angle of the front, just so I can deal with this apex not being too far forward. So I'm going to drop this apex down, wire it out. So really guys, pretty much I'm going to go away and wire some of this tree. I'll wire this branch, and then I'll come back and we'll see how we're progressing, and we'll try and show you a few things here and there. But it's pretty much a wiring job, but this is the most important, and I'll show you that in particular rather than all the work done here. But remember, the angle change, very important. Get the tree to go backwards and then come forwards. It's a good way to do it. All right, I'll be back with the wiring. Alright, so I'm at a point where I've wired everything up until here. I've actually set in place a lot of these branches. This one, the main ones, etc. You can see from here downwards, I pretty much set them. Oh, I have to be able to turn it. So, looks good. Go back this way. Alright, so these nice back branches, side branches. Just have to adjust a little bit. Alright, now we come back to here. Now, I've wired all these branches, but I haven't placed them in position. I haven't put them in position because I want you guys to see what I do here, to get a better understanding of the process you follow to put branches where you need them. I probably want to see how I can adjust the camera so you guys can be from behind my shoulder. So let me work that out and I'll come back. Alright, that's probably the best I'm going to get to being over my shoulder. Let's have a look. So you can still see kind of the front is in here. See the padding padding. This is a really nice one too. Probably the best one at the right angle for you guys to have a look at. And there's a back branch at the back, which in two-dimensional views you can't really see that properly, but we'll get there. So my issue is there's no branches in this section. Can you see how it's quite bare? So this one's already filling in this bit, but now I need to figure out where I'm going to get a branch to fill in this spot. So my obvious choice is to do this, move this one around, move it around closer in, and then do it this way. So I've reduced the size, but I've also created a nice little branch just to break up this monotony here, this ugliness there. Then I'll follow with the next branches behind it, bring them around. Now I'm just going to pluck anything going down with the needles, because once you put them in position, you'll see where they sit. So maybe even more around. And because I've wired everything, I can do this quite easily. So maybe something like that. So you can see now I've tried to block this section, this bit of the trunk, which wasn't the best. Now I'm kind of lost here. I need one in there. So this one's the obvious one. So I'm going to try and put him in that spot. Kind of sitting nicely in that spot there, about there. So I've compacted it, moved it in, and started using the side branches that I've wired and putting them in position. Just want to pluck anything going down too much, pull the tips up a little, and we're good. Now there's starting to become a bit of a gap in here at the back, a bit of a gap in here, so there's an obvious choice in this branch to go back into that spot. That's an easy one. Now they've kind of filled that spot nicely, so I don't have to worry too much about that spot. Now we work our way further up. Now we've got space in here to fill. There's a bit of space in there to fill, which we can quite easily. So let's work on this. I think this one will come down and fill in this spot here. So by creating space, we can space lower. You bend stuff down and you create space above, so the next branch can go into it. So that's a nice branch in there. Pluck it as much as I can. Get this one. I usually use two hands, but I'm trying not to block the camera. And cedars are quite flexible, so they'll easily respond to me. So there's another nice little pad in there. Do you see how we created that one? So that's nice. Could probably go a little bit lower. Want it a bit lower, so it's a nice pad there. Now I'm not convinced of this little gin here. Can you see that little gin there? I don't know if you can see that. There's a little gin in here. Not a fan. So I think I'm going to take it out. Much better. So I reckon there's a big space in here that this branch can fill nicely. Let's wire him down. Remember, I always put movement so I can make the branch smaller, so not as long. Let's have a look. Oh, not too bad. Probably want it a bit lower. In there. Okay. Now you're starting to see this branch is kind of out of whack, so we've got to bring it in more. So we go backwards, come forwards, got a nice little pad in there. So you can start to see how we're putting this all together. Not a fan of this, but start to see how it's all coming together. Now we've got a bit more space in here. The reason we've got more space in here is, remember, I was going to actually pull this down with a guy wire and get it shorter. So that's the plan. That's why I'm trying to create all this space. So I've still got to do a bit more. I think this one has to just go towards the back in there. I'll just put him in position. All right. Now I think I'm ready for the guy wire. Now you can kind of see now, look, it's got a bit of a head, a little quite a bit of a head. But once we actually then guy wire this down, I might be able to bend it. I did put a big piece of wire on there, so hang on, let me see if I can bend this down. Well, the flexibility of cedars makes it very easy. Alright, so that actually bent down and don't need a guy wire. Even better. So now I just got to adjust all these branches to create the apex. Again, same process. Fill in the gaps. Fill in where there's a gap. Alright everyone, so that's probably where it's going to end up. I'll just drop the camera. Wanted really to show you how you can move branches and position them into different spots and areas. That's probably the most important lesson here. You create the space for the next branch to be pushed down into. So recreated the apex. We had to make sure we moved all the other branches down. I still want to tweak a few. I think there's a bit of a gap in here still, so I might want to tweak this a little bit more. But just playing around now, just a bit of playing around. Nothing too crazy, but most of the structure's there. And now you got to build all the pads again, like just slowly build them up. But at least now the structure's in place. Cedars are quite flexible, so it's really good to have. Easy to use, easy to bend. But very important, you can also see the side on, how the tree tilts back and then comes forward. And now the apex kind of sits, the new apex sits right in the middle of the pot, which is great. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I hope you guys picked up some tips on how to position branches and how to create the spaces for those branches and to keep working on your trees. Alright guys, I'll see you around.